Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to a brand new episode of Transformation Talks. I am Yasmin Taj, editor and head of branded content for ETHR International, and it is my pleasure to be amongst you once again. To those who are new to Transformation Talks, as part of this LinkedIn Live series, every week I host different talent leaders and HR tech influencers to share their experiences and transformation stories of talent, technology, and organizations with us. And today I'm delighted to introduce to you Graham Almond, Executive Vice President, Chief Officer People, Culture and Technology at OceanaGold Corporation. Exposed to over 100 countries and large diverse workforces spread over 300 work locations, Graham is a human resources business leader with experience across Asia, Oceania, EMEA, North and South America. His track record includes making a difference in transforming business to improve performance through people, leadership, culture, safety, and strategy. He is trusted by CEOs to partner and curate business transformation strategies and drive culture and organization design, leadership and talent, executive performance and reward, HSC, DEI, and cultivating organizational agility. Thank you so much for joining us, Graham. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Yasmin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. And how are you feeling today, Graham?
Oh, pretty tired, I think, like many of us. We come back from Christmas thinking it's a new year, but we're straight into it. But all
Yeah.
good. I'm looking forward to another exciting year at OceanaGold and personally a fantastic 2022 on the family front as well.
Great, great. So are we. Great. So, Graham, before I start the discussion with you, I'd like to request our audience to keep posting their thoughts and questions in the comments section. We will try and take them up during our conversation. And without any further delay, let me start with my first question for you, Graham. So, over the years, you have designed and managed large scale organization transformations that have strengthened business performance through enhanced processes, culture, leadership, and talent systems. According to you, what are the top business transformation practices that every organization must adopt in 2022? And how should leaders prepare their teams to lead an agile transformation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me the goal today for many organisations and for OceanaGold as well is to breathe sort of new life into the organisation by creating an environment that really embraces the creativity and the innovation and empowering employees, but also in reducing the sort of unnecessary layers of management. With this, with kind of this in mind, I kind of look at HR a little bit different today and sort of taking into account what HR means. Possibly it's the hybrid revolution, not human resources. But I think what's important is to be clear on is what nimble means for an organisation. I think that really counts. Now, if you're scaling for growth, for example, it requires simplicity and standardisation. Your organisational model needs to represent such for scalability. But I think today, with all the change and uncertainty that is occurring, the top business transformation practices, in my view, starts with a review of your organisation design model and how this, in the hybrid revolution of the world we live in today, will really assist achieving the company's purpose and vision. If we think about preparing for it, it sort of starts with the company culture you aspire to achieve, but more importantly, how the values are lived and portrayed in that operating model. If you talk about innovation, prepare and develop your leaders, your leadership capability and creativity, cross-functional team management, effective questioning, and what it means to be a servant leader in with a constructive sort of culture mindset, for example. But also map your capabilities to the desired outcome or goals you want to achieve. Now, this, as you'd appreciate, takes time. But my advice is to prepare teams to lead an agile transformation. You really need to understand the leadership capability you want as an end result to be felt through your organisation. And more importantly, ensure that you're prepared to tackle the organisational design model first, so that the capabilities can become your competitive advantage sooner rather than later. But we also need to remember that at times this is not a sprint. It is a marathon, as they say, especially in larger organisations. We're about 2,500 people, so we're not huge, we're not small, but it's still, we have our own marathon to work through as well. But if we all acknowledge that, it can take time to make change, and often it's years and dealing with resistance from people who are uncomfortable and who are happy in the traditional environment and the like. Just be patient and be resilient. You be prepared to address the power structures, and upend them and, deal with the turf protection aspects that are going to occur. Likewise, those areas where there's a lack of urgency or the change in leadership might actually slow things down. So, a practice I like to do, and we have a really great team here that does help, is work with your communications department and use the various avenues that are there through your organisation to spread the news, to spread the wins, and keep people informed.
Some great points there, Graham, mentioned by you. I think I also totally agree. This is a marathon. It'll keep going on. It's not a sprint. And organizations have to be very nimble and agile and build those kind of capabilities that prepare you for this disruption or any further disruptions going forward. And leadership and culture are going to be very the key enablers to this entire transformation. So great points there, Graham. Thanks a lot for sharing that. So, Graham, the emphasis on ESG goals has become extremely critical to organizational success today. How have you balanced social imperatives with extensive business proliferation and transformation over the past 2 years, and what is in store for the near future? Also, what are most so important social aspects that organizations must address on high priority, according to you?
Well, that's another very detailed question, and also one which has a very strategic insight into where perhaps the world's heading, not just industry. But mining has a long history of sort of ESG management, and I think we're probably one of the best industries at it, in my view. That doesn't mean other industries won't catch up very fast. It just means we've had many more years at it. Um, in terms of it being front and centre of our social licence to operate, we've had a long history of recognising the impacts and benefits of our industry and how it can sort of impact on communities and society at large. So it's not uncommon, in fact, it's very common for ESG metrics to fall part of STIP and LTIP programs with significant penalties in place for, significant failures or breaches of controls, which might impact on communities, environment, etc. So, we use it as a means of driving behaviour for the benefit of society and for the better good of a world as well. And obviously, the old saying, sort of, what gets measured kind of gets preached and focused on as well. So, as I said, we're pretty strong on it, and we communicate it. The way we reinforce it, is back through our reward programs. But interestingly, more and more companies are really taking on the ESG challenge with a heavy emphasis on areas such as health, safety, environment, clean energy, diversity, the CSR aspects, environmental protection and the like. And they're taking more action around stakeholder impact assessments, risk assessments, and more. Some of that's been driven by shareholders, but also being driven by, a world waking up and recognising that as we become more connected, we need to do more to sort of uphold and protect, humans for the longer term. With my current employer, we have a very strong emphasis, as I said, on our short-term incentive process. The ESG aspect, just to give an example of reward from our corporate goals point of view, weighs in at around 25% of our reward program. You'll never take out those key aspects that are financial and around productivity and the like, but 25% of your reward program going back to ESG shows a strong commitment from a company. And we look at areas, or the vehicles that we look at, they're attached to culture, environment, clean energy, external affairs, and sort of social engagement. And we'll continue to maintain this. But as more and more companies are starting to realise their impact on supply chains and gain a better understanding of where their raw materials and products are sourced from, that effort is only going to be part of a more sustainable and responsible world, and it also supports companies orientated towards sustainable growth. So I think we'll see a lot more focus on sustainable supply chains, especially today, given that there's a shortage out there across the world, and it's ripe for opportunity for corruption and other aspects to go on. So I think we'll see more of that. But as we come together more as a human race, and social media, as I said, allowing the spread of news, that injustice and unfairness is starting to shape personal values. And those personal values are testing what's right and fair. And as a result, belief systems are changing in younger people. I see it with my children, for example. and others who we employ. But as a result of influencing your belief system, that's also influencing decision making. So, and I think that's a core reason to make it a priority for any organisation, because when there's a clash in personal versus company values, something's going to hit the fan, and only some of it sticks, and the rest of it, well, let's just say we could consider it attrition in today's world. Thank you.
Very interestingly pointed out, Graham. I think yes, your employees today are looking for more purpose and meaning when they are joining a certain employer. And if an employer has a commitment like this, if your rewards are linked to ESG goals and the purpose that employees can contribute to, I think that's a really amazing stance. So, and communicating it with the employees, with the people who are looking for such kind of a purpose, I think it's very important. So, great points there. I think organizations are really stepping up, especially in the past a few years that we've seen that ESG goals are not just a tick in the box activity for them anymore. It's something that is a core part of their value system. So thanks for letting us know that. Moving on, you pointed out a lot about culture and leadership going forward and how organizations need those as the key enablers for transformation. So people, technology, culture, these are the three foundational blocks for businesses today. So, in your experience, Graham, what keeps them aligned to the existing business environment, and what are the challenges that stand in the way?
So obviously, when you think about change in leadership, that creates a lot of turmoil in this area, in my view. But really, I think a key aspect is a company mindset that's committed to common frameworks and keeping things simple, especially if you're a distributed business where you're not just in one location. You could have multiple offices, locations, whatever it may be. So I think common frameworks and keeping it simple is really key from a building block point of view. And this is reinforced by organisational operating models and having a very strict set of rules in place around your organisation design. Again, if we think about a building block, having a very strong organisational operating model that's strictly adhered to makes a massive difference. And there's nothing worse than managers creating their own sort of organisational microcosm that effectively prevents flow or scalability or even just simple things like career path management. But again, when we think about, from a business environment point of view, bringing people, technology, or people, culture and technology together really comes through operating practices, operating behaviours, and having an operating model that's understood by all and the way you engage things. So I think one of the most important things people and culture professionals need to be on top of is really, having an effective organisation starting with a true, well understood, effective organisational design model and making sure it's enforced. Eventually people fall into line as mavericks get moved on, but it really takes a lot of effort to align the business, to keep the business, sort of moving along the right path so that people, technology enables your performance, but so your people and culture environment can come together and really create a competitive advantage.
Yeah, and I think if you're able to bring that together, that is going to be the future for organization transformation, culture, people, technology, helping you to enable that, your value system, promoting that. I think those are the key factors which will create the kind of agile transformation that organizations are looking forward to in the coming years. So, thanks, Graham, for sharing that.
And I think
Yeah.
just on that, Yasmin, if I can say, that what I tend to see is quite often people and culture leaders don't have a strong grasp of organisational design. And, if we think about the last 2 years being upended with COVID and the like, and one of the biggest challenges is how have we moved to this environment where accountabilities have now been blurred when people aren't in the office and can't be communicated to. So really getting your organisational design model right, becomes that glue factor, I think, that underpins it.
Yeah, and I think yes, very rightly pointed out. During the past 2 years, it became all the more important for leaders to get that right. To work on the value system, to work on the organizational model, in order to manage people who are no longer coming to your workplace, but they're working from anywhere. So it was different. So great, thanks for sharing that, Graham. Speaking of workforce transformation, and we just spoke about it, that how capability building is also going to be very important, and changing L&D dynamics in this virtual and hybrid world of work. What is the key, according to you, Graham, to building a skilled and productive workforce? And what are the attributes of a healthy organization has?
Well, I guess the key to me is having an agreed leadership capability model and a core skills sort of capability model as well, that really supports a cultural environment you want. And for us, it's a constructive culture environment. If you think about it, this sort of permeates all you bring then to the table from a people and culture point of view, whether it be talent acquisition right through to succession planning discussions. So I think that's really essential, is just having a clear leadership capability model and a core skills model that's understood, and then making sure it's embedded in all that you do. Effective organisations, as opposed to a healthy organisation, work on creating that sort of constructive culture where people don't just feel safe, but they also recognise that they're employed to contribute to goals, the organisation's goals, and they're encouraged to deliver their best and be accountable for the results. People are the ones that make a difference to your business, but the glue factor is the constructive leader, and this is what really contributes to the healthy organisation. That's the constructive leader.
I absolutely agree with you, Graham. Once again, I think yes, leadership capability is very important, and then changing the entire capability model, skills model for your organization, for each one of your employees, aligning it to the business goals of the organization, and creating a path for the employees as well as the organization going forward is going to be very important in the new world of work that we are living in right now. Now, coming to a bit of technology here, Graham, investments in digital transformations have increased multifold in recent years. However, companies are still facing a challenge to match this frenetic pace on the talent front. So, what, according to you, are the most strategic actions to build the talent for the future? And what will be some key talent acquisition and retention trends for 2022?
That's a that's a really tough question. I think many of us on listening in, or thought leaders out there and CHROs, I wish we all had the magic pill. Look, I get inundated daily, I must say, whether it be through LinkedIn emails or the like, with requests to look at a new tool, some new design, whether it be related to improving productivity or improving talent planning or workforce planning, whatever it may be. There's a lot of items out there. But I really think, irrespective of what's going on with the huge amount of change and opportunity that's there from a digital point of view to support companies, I really think what is most important, irrespective of whatever tool you decide you want to deploy, is executives need to prioritise people and make time for the talent bench sort of planning, the development, the action setting, and ensuring those action plans are in place, etc. And that to me is the biggest opportunity of all. The digital transformation is just a tool to help enable your productivity, but the real rubber on the road, the improvements that can be made, is the executives putting time aside and making sure there's commitment to capital, and holding leaders who are poor talent spotters and talent developers and just don't build bench strength, hold them accountable for not supporting talent programs. And I think that's a must heading into 2022 and beyond. When we're hearing the world is, and I'm talking about the world globally, and not just mining, but elsewhere, where we're struggling to get talented people into companies, and people changing industries because of COVID and the like, bad leaders are hurting the company even more and contributing to that attrition. So move the bad leaders out and actually take a punt and help those leaders who actually demonstrate great leadership capability, help grow them quicker, put fast track programs in place. So move those bad leaders out and replace them with people who really care and foster what it is you want out of an effective leader, so that you improve your chance of retaining people. We were having a conversation recently with some of my peers, and we talk about an EVP. And I truly believe that it's not about money and all that. Yes, it counts. We all need it. We all have bills to pay, etc. But that the old saying, people join because of a brand or the like, and they leave because of a leader. That's still true today. And I think as companies, we need to be put a lens more on the bad leaders and move them on, and put more emphasis on developing the constructive leader behaviour you want down at your front line.
Yes, yes, exactly. I think again, it all comes back to building the right kind of leadership when it's required to move your organization into the new next that we are talking of. So leadership is there. You need to take care of building leaders. You need to take care of building that innovation mindset, that growth mindset in them, so that they can further cascade it down to all the employees in the organization and help them build their own career paths. So this is going to be very important if you want to retain talent in your organization, if you want to attract the best talent, because as you very rightly said, leadership is the reason why people leave or people stay. So that's a very interesting thought, Graham. Thanks for sharing that. Graham, now it's time to move on to a rapid fire round of this conversation, and we have some interesting questions for you, which I'll ask, and you'll have to answer them very quickly. So let's begin. What are the top three digital trends that will dominate the business space in 2022, according to you?
Well, that is that is another challenging. You've asked some really good questions, I have to say today, Yasmin. Look,
Thank you.
to me, it really comes back to, and I'm just going to call it people. The digital trends, as I see, that are going to just come through, and it's only going to continue, are those systems which enhance performance,
Mhm.
not necessarily drive it. And that's why I think the digital trends that we're seeing are about helping people with innovation, helping people with decision making, critical thinking. Those sorts of tools and systems I think will start to dominate to help people get more. When we think about what are we wanting out of leaders today and people, where we want them to contribute more, solve problems, etc. I think some of those areas are going to start to come to the fore, where some of the digital support will be available to help people get better at that. That's my thoughts.
Mhm. Great thoughts. Great. Thanks for sharing that. Moving on to our next question for you. What are the most effective change management practices for any organization today, Graham?
Um, have a plan. Because without it, you get false starts. And so I really think if you're going to do any change, make sure you've got a good plan and it's understood, so that you don't get the false starts and lose time and capital, etc. But the
Hmm.
other the other key aspect, and there's a couple of things that I tend to try to look at, um, is, does the team have the skills that you need to deliver on that plan? And I think if you get
Yes.
those two right, and there's many more key ingredients in terms of a change management process, but I think if you get those two right, firstly, you avoid false starts. But secondly, what you tend to do is you also help people in terms of anxiety, avoid anxiety, so you can actually move forward quickly and deliver on your plan.
Great points. Have a plan and have the skills to execute that plan. Great. Thanks, Graham. Thanks for
Yep.
sharing that.
And the
Moving on to
resource.
the
Make
yeah,
sure you've got resources and they're understood what's available,
yeah.
because that also just ensures that your timelines can be met as well.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with you. So, Graham, what is the secret to engaging and encouraging the workforce of today, according to you?
Be human. Be human and show you're vulnerable, and don't be afraid to admit mistakes, and when you do make mistakes, have your team have the confidence to be able to also call them out. And I think that's part of being engaging with people too, that they're not afraid then to say, hey boss, you've done something wrong, or I disagree with it, or we did this last week, don't you remember? And personally myself, I'm someone who's very focused on the future, so I can often forget what happened yesterday at
Yes,
times. So my team are very good at holding me very vulnerable to that. But I think, as if you think about from a young age, the majority of us are programmed to achieve. Whether it be mum and dad encouraging us to do something, or at school, or at sport, or whatever. So it's been drilled into us since we were children, and as a result, our neurons love positive recognition and reward. So, be prepared to have a laugh, ensure people understand the goals, ensure that goal clarity exists, and support people with the right amount of communication and comfort.
yes.
And it's no different to when we're at school, when we're trying to nurture and grow, or at sport, when we're trying to learn something. Work is still the same. It's a team environment where we're all aiming for the same thing. But more importantly, identify where you can give that positive recognition and reward, because that's what we're really built on, to feel comfortable to move forward.
Yes, that's such a beautiful thought, Graham. I think being human, being empathetic, taking care of your people, listening to what matters to them is going to be it is very important already, and will remain as a very important aspect of our organizations move forward in this thing, right? And how well are you communicating with them? How well are you creating a career path for them? Are you helping them build themselves? I think very important points in if you want to keep your people engaged and encouraged and motivated in the job. So great points. Thanks for sharing, Graham. Coming to the last question for today, what are the top skills that are needed to maintain and accelerate work momentum in this remote hybrid workplace, Graham?
Yes, patience, I think. um, I'd say that with a jovial laugh, but most of my team members who report through to me have kids, and you can't go to school and you've got to look after your kids. What do you do? Well, they can't go to preschool and the like. So you've really got to have patience and be prepared to help change the mindsets and interaction behaviour of people around you. I mean, it's not easy, but also recognising that we are there. The people your team members make the difference to your outcomes. So have patience and work with them. Um, Planning. Keep time. Really recognise it's precious. So keep to your time and ensure you don't sort of hold people back unnecessarily. I don't like to see team members work unnecessary hours. I know we need to do it sometimes, but make sure that your team members understand that there are a set of rules. So plan and stick to those sort of rules that you want your team to work to. Fun. It's not like you can go and sometimes today just go and grab a coffee and with one of your colleagues or have a bit of a laugh and just joke while you're walking down to get it. Take a bit of time out to have a laugh, tell a story, whatever it may be. But just, that can help set the scene for a non-intense meeting, especially when people have had a long day. You can still get your points through, but it just brings a different level of focus, I think. And the final point is, I think there is no one size fits all approach to leading people. I'm very different, just as much as my peers are, just as much as my team is across the world. So, be prepared to adjust your style to your team,
Yeah.
especially when it's one-on-one, and never forget to bring the quiet ones into the conversation or discussion when you're on Teams calls or whatever it may be that you use. Sometimes we lose them and we can't see them on the screen or when they're off camera. And speaking of which, when we think about being off camera, let people come in and out of the camera to ensure that they're comfortable and feel trusted. It
Yes.
can get pretty tiring just looking at a screen all day, and so let people have that comfort.
Great points again, Graham. I also totally agree with you. You need to have patience. You need to plan well. You need to take care of your people by listening to them. You need to give them that space, have fun with them. I think these are the key pointers of any organized leadership or any organization if they want to remain relevant and successful in the times, because the times will keep changing. But if you take care of your people in a certain way, they will go along with you. They'll have the agility to move along, the nimbleness to move along. So great thoughts there. On that note, Graham, that was all the time we had for this session. It was really, truly amazing to hear your thoughts and some stories from your side. Great inputs there. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Yasmin. I much appreciate it.
Yes, great. So organizations who are going to remain human at the core, I think whose leaders will remain human at the core with technology, with culture being the bedrock of all the change, I think they will be very successful in the future. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that was all the time we had. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will come back soon with another transformation talk story. Till then, stay safe, keep transforming, and wishing all our viewers a very happy Chinese New Year coming soon. Hope you have a great year ahead. See you soon, everyone. Thank you.